Alright, what's up y'all, it's Lake 2 here. As you can see by the title of today's video, we are here to showcase the team that is the worst nightmare for a rain team in Pokemon Champions. As you guys know, we're going to pan over to the typical rain team you're going to see right here. Something like Pelipper, Archaludon, Basculegion, and probably some variation of like Mega Dragonite, Mega Meganium, things like Sneasler, other things that maybe even have like, weaknesses to fire type moves, etc, etc. I've even seen a Mega Chestnut on a rain team as well. It lacks like the identity of one exact Mega Pokemon that you see, but you do typically see Dragonite fit into this with things like Hurricane, Weather Ball, Thunder, Draco, whatever the case may be. You know, it fits really well in a rain team. Same goes with like Pelipper using Hurricanes and stuff like that as well. Archaludon having Electro Shot, Basculegion having maybe, let's say, Adaptability plus Choice Scarf, or to just simply run like, I don't know, something like Mystic Water while also pairing it with the Swift Swim ability. The Swift Swim is where we really start trolling some people. Now, let's go ahead and showcase our team. Now, I've got Gengar in a spot where it at least feels like, I don't exactly know how to do the calcs properly when you're conveying it from champions over to there, because there are a bit of like weird different things mixed in off the fact that here, let's go to the training real quick and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. There are extra bars on this stuff now where I believe you can get more stats than you typically would, because as you can see, if you invest one more right here into each one of these extra bars, you get a +2 instead of a +1. So there are 3 of those built in. So for all I know, there are like more complications to the whole like nature up and stuff like that. But where I have Gengar right now, it feels very tuned to where he's getting one-hit KOs on A, other Gengars, B, Frostlass, and then C, Basculegion as well. And all 3 of those were questionable when I had like 0 special attack investment. And then he keeps enough bulk to be living things like Incineroar, Throat Chops, and Darkest Lariat and stuff like that as well. So I feel like this is the exact right tuning to have Gengar on. But besides the idea of, running a Paris Trap team and that's it as far as what we're doing here, we have a bunch of water resist on the team. So as you can see, we add 4 more in right here. We have water resist Primarina, water resist Altaria. We'll talk about Altaria more in just a second. Water resist Kamao, however, we're not really bringing him to the rain teams very often. And then water resist Blastoise. Now, I did a video that we're dropping on the same day as this one if you want to check it out, of why I run things like Flip Turn, Parting Shot. As you can see, Flip Turn again on Primarina right here. The reason for running this stuff is it fits really well into the Paris Trap synergy, and as well as also what really just destroys the rain teams and what I want to put on center display right here, absolute just put it on a pedestal, is Altaria with Cloud9. Now, I mentioned this like even weeks ago that I was really interested in looking at something like this. Judging by how many people were so interested in running this rain team spam of Archaludon, who's going to charge up his Electro Shot and then get it to go off in one turn, Pelipper hidden Weather Balls that are going to turn into 50 power normal moves instead now, Hurricane across the board, going from 100% accurate down to 70, all of these things included, and then to cut Basculegion Swift Swim, all this stuff, like to cut the rain off as if it's like turning the shower off, bro. It really just makes such a difference. So we're running the Dragon Resist Berry on Altaria just for like the fact that, Dragon Pulse, Draco Meteor, stuff like that is typically what you're going to see out of Archaludon. So when you get Altaria in and want to like actually keep them in, it is actually like a lot more possible this way. But I don't have too much footage of stuff like that yet, to be fair. But obviously, with the limited move pool or item pool that we have on this game, I should say, I find myself running things like the Rindo Berry on Blastoise. You could run Wakan, which is the electric resist, if you wanted to run that instead on him or Prim. For Primarina, I have the Lumberry, Gengar, obviously Megastone, Kamao leftovers paired with the fact that he has soundproof so you can stay on the field. You guys have probably seen stuff like this if you've been tapped in with the channel, so I'm not going to discuss it way too much. But anyway, on Incineroar, as you can see, also the Citrus, simple as that. So, again, we have this team, it's not built to counter rain teams, but it just so happens that like the one key component of Altaria actually does, it was full on to counter rain teams, sun teams, 100%. That's pretty much the entire reason Altaria is here, is to be a counter weather play, if you get what I'm saying. And then, I mean, it sure doesn't hurt anything either that it gets like Roost. It can stay on the field pretty conveniently to like be able to, heal up in situations where we want to keep them out there with the Perish active as well. It also provides Perish Song as a, second, or in Primarina's case, maybe even third user, because we have 3 different people on the team that can use the Perish Song. So when paired with Gengar with the Shadow Tag, super helpful. paired with, once again, soundproof, and then 2 guys that are really built on those switch-in pivots with the fake-out flip turn and fake-out parting shot. So anyway, let's get into the gameplay. I want to show you guys what this team is up to, and especially Altaria when it comes to shutting these rain teams down. Alright, now, I cannot lie to you guys. I was struggling a little bit more than I expected to with the rain teams at first when I didn't have the Calx all set up and like Gengar being kitted out to be able to get the KOs on Basky Legion, because every single time, bro, he would be living on 3% HP, 1% HP, 5% HP, stuff like that. So I just simply tuned up the special attack on Gengar so we can actually rely on things like that, because that was very frustrating to have this team completely pinned and have them exactly where we need them, and then Gengar just can't get the KO on fully speed and attack invested Basky Legions who are coming out here with the last respects, stuff like that. So anyway, I would say he's the biggest threat on the team, but now that we have Gengar optimized for actually snagging KOs on that, when you send Altaria in and just cut off that rain, it really does troll everybody who runs this. So anyway, I just wanted to really, like, you know, put that out there of why Altaria can be really useful in that regard. But anyway, as you can see, we're actually approaching the Ultra Ball tier when we actually cut this gameplay on right here. And they lead Pelipper, Sneasler. A little bit different than the type of leads that we typically see. Sneasler is threatening fake out pressure. I didn't really, like, you know, think they would be doing it though, to be fair, and even if they do, I'm not that concerned with like Pelipper's moves into Gengar. So instead of hitting the Altaria switch in right now, because I don't really want to have 2 different attacks available, and like obviously, you know, we could probably do that because Sneasler could either A, fake out into Incineroar, or B, could maybe even hit a close combat into Incineroar, who knows. Either way, probably could have been a decent switch into Altaria, just to cut off the rain, all things considered when looking at this in retrospect. But anyway, gonna lead off with the fake out plus Mega Perish, and then like keep them shadow tagged on if they decide not to switch out right here. As far as like switch capabilities, they both could have U-turn, to be fair. Like Sneasler could have U-turn and Pelipper could have U-turn. Not a lot of Pelipper's been running that though. As far as my knowledge goes, I've seen a couple with Hydro Pump, I've seen a couple with Weather Ball, a lot with Weather Ball actually for that matter, and then Tailwind, as you can see there too, and then Hurricane as well. Sometimes Protect, sometimes not. I don't know. It's like a different move pool of about 6 different moves, and something like, you know, U-turn could be added in there, but you don't see them use it like too often. So anyway, off the next turn, what we either could do is go double protect, or we could pivot in Blastoise or pivot in Altaria on this turn to allow ourselves like a maybe easier access to get out, because I am a little bit intimidated by the Sneasler right now, and to be able to get in here on, you know, something like close combat would probably be somewhat desirable, to be real. So instead of hitting a double fake out and leaving me with nowhere to go on the next turn, or double protect, I should say, I think I'm going to pull off the switch right now so that I can comfortably get Gengar out on the next turn with like a flip turn, rather than to be doing the parting shot with Incineroar, because again, like I just said, we're very threatened by the idea of the Sneasler hitting close combats. Why he used Dire Claw, I have no idea. The Weather Ball is going to be a water type move coming into Incineroar, obviously his slot, and we switch Blastoise in for that. And then check this out too, Blastoise with the Rain Dish, little bit of a kind of sleeper ability too, because obviously I don't really care about Torrent, to be real with you, especially on a Paris Trap team. So anything that provided a little bit more value into something like a Rain team as well, I don't see why not, you know. I will say, if Blastoise and Altaria have ever been on the field together, it makes it so his Rain Dish isn't working, obviously, because of stuff like that. So I do want to show you guys this game, and potentially maybe even another one too. I think the other one might be a little too troll for you guys to see though. It was stuff where, like, long story short, they were clicking Weather Ball into Gengar, like thinking when Altaria was already on the field, and they were thinking that it was going to be a water type move. And I'm not gonna lie, this is very misleading. Like, as you can see, it doesn't stop it from raining. It just visually like is still there, but Cloud9 is stopping the rain effects. So though someone might see that and like want to click Weather Ball, and granted I switched in on this one, so this isn't fair to them. It's not like they, you know, thought that it was going to be like that. They were trying to hit Weather Ball into Gengar, but instead we I'm gonna run this back. My bad, I was pausing it a little bit too much. They do get the para with the Dire Claw, but I did come to find out that actually has less chance at a full para now in the game. I think it's like a 12, 13, 14%. Someone can correct me on that. I know it's not actually factually right what I'm saying, but they did decrease the odds of the full paras by a ton. But anyway, the Weather Ball took like about 10% HP off Altaria right there, because once again, we are turning it to a normal move, 50 power, instead of it being a 100 power water type move. To be fair though, even the water type move would hit pretty weak into Altaria, just considering it's dragon type and gonna resist stuff like that. So as far as what we're like trolling them with right here, I mean, you guys can picture exactly the type of stuff I'm talking about. We could switch Altaria in on turns where like our Chaladon's gonna be readying an Electro Shot. All of a sudden now he can't get the Electro Shot off, and we can double protect to make it so the Electro Shot doesn't even hit anybody, because it turns into a 2-turn move instead of a 1-turn move. Again, you know, cutting the rain off to allow Basket Legion to get KO'd by Gengar. If he has Swift Swim to stop these Hurricanes from being 100% accurate. Again, the list goes on and on of why Altaria is useful, and as you can see, we hit the protect with Altaria right there, protect against 2 different moves, and then boom, we're able to get the Perish kill on Sneasler and Pelipper both, while being able to pull off the pivots and stuff like that, get Altaria in on the left slot, Gengar in on the right slot, Tailwind's out. Now that they really should be cooked, to be real with you, as far as anything they could even do. And as you can see, in the back they have our Chaladon in Basket Legion. Now, where these teams aren't used to stuff like this is they're probably used to, you know, the idea of essentially, and I will say I didn't really feel comfortable on this turn just yet, because I did still want to get the Perish off just in case with our Chaladon, because I don't really have anybody that I brought that was going to be great into like doing damage to him. I've never really seen people bring our Chaladon in the back. It's typically always the lead with Pelipper, and I'm able to just get the Perish KO on him super easy and super early, and I never really have to deal with him in the back. So considering that if I either A, keep Altaria on the field, that would make it so the rain is still like, you know, voided and like not in effect. But if I switch Altaria off, that threatens the idea of Basket Legion potentially outspeeding Gengar because of this Swift Swim. So don't really want to do that. I think what I'm going to do instead is go for a double switch right here. Maybe not my best work. You could argue I should have kept Altaria on the field and maybe just gone for the KO into Bask with Gengar. But again, you know, with the calcs and stuff like that, I don't really have it factually set up. So I think what I'd prefer to do is just set this up for a Perish KO. To be fair, this isn't exactly the best way to set things up. I kind of start running out of time, somewhat panic a little bit, because I just like wasn't sure what to commit to. I wanted to maybe go for Perish with Altaria as well. But yeah, what you're going to see right here instead is me go into, we got Blastoise on the right slot for Gengar, and then Incineroar on the left slot for Altaria. Draco Meteor being threatened into that left slot, and then obviously, yes, Last Respects being threatened into the right slot. We're able to tank that with Blastoise, not at an elite level to be fair, but then we're able to tank that Draco on the left slot as well. And what's beautiful about this is going to pop Citrus Berry. Our Chaladon's going to be kind of nerfed quite a bit, realistically. I mean, you know, that's -2 special attack right there. There goes the rain. So what's going to go down on this turn, I was being a little bit, you know, not as thoughtful originally, but then I kind of go back on that. I'm like, okay, Altaria is parried. We could low-key just let Altaria get sacked right here and then protect with Blastoise. And then if they, like, you know, they're probably readying, to be fair, a Wave Crash into that slot or Last Respects to get the KO on Blastoise, obviously. So plan is, we're trying to maybe just let Altaria get KO'd right here, bring Gengar back in now that we're like, you know, pretty comfortable with the idea of getting like the KO on Bask. And now, as you can see as well, we're able to actually get some chip with the Wave Crash chipping him down. So very confident now, especially, that Gengar would be able to get the KO. Now, they go for the Electro Shot, but once again, Rain isn't even active. You know, with the Perish Trap kind of like keeping Pelipper stuck on the field after, like, you know, they probably weren't expecting to be like kept in a spot like that. I feel like most people probably, you know, go about it in the logic of, I could take Pelipper off the field when I need to, and then if the rain turns and like the, you know, the game's being stalled out really hard, we could switch him back in. The problem is, again, the Perish Trap just changes the game entirely. It's just such a different aspect. So again, between the fact that we have like 2 different water resists on the field here with Altaria and Blastoise, Primarina could even come to the fights too sometimes as well if we didn't want to bring Incineroar. Incin, as you can see though, is definitely getting some value right now. Like, I know I'm doing a whole lot of nothing, like it's a big nothing burger right now and it looks terrible, but what is happening, however, is I'm getting a lot of Intimidates in on, you know, the Basket Legion, and that can be pretty helpful, as well as you're going to see right here, the -2 Archaladon trying to hit Electro Shots, it ain't doing anything. If anything, it actually was plus or -1 because he was able to charge it up and then also get the hit off. But anyway, now we're just going to get right in here. Boom. We have this perfectly set up now. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball on Basque and the Fake Out on our Chaladon. We have this finally like clean and comfortable, because what I was a little bit concerned about is taking big damage from our Chaladon into Gengar and then not having things in the back to deal with our Chaladon better. I was trying to set it up for good perish like opportunities, but obviously we got paralyzed on Altaria, and then I was like concerned about, you know, Dracos and Dragon pulses and stuff like that into Altaria, while Last Respects could potentially get Gengar KO'd if Basque Legion ended up, you know, somehow living the attacks that I'd have. But again, I could trust the calc. I could trust the whole like intuition of how I feel like I have stuff figured out now. But to be fair, we never know how the opposing Basque Legion is going to be set up. We never know if they're going to be more invested into bulk and HP and stuff like that. Someone could be doing different stuff when it comes to that. So anyway, we're able to get the KO. Obviously, 91% of his HP goes off. But again, I'm assuming it could have been 100 potentially. So anyway, last one left is going to be our Chaladon, and then they just end on a forfeit. Obviously, we have like 3 Mons. Okay, yeah, we sacked Altaria. That's what it was. So anyway, yeah, they forfeit. As you can see, this was actually the battle that got me to Ultra Ball rank, and we had one long win streak, but I don't think I was able to like really cheese it the way that some people were able to pull it off, where, you know, you go from playing like a couple of bot games in the first 2 or something like that, and then like chain a win streak super early while you're in like the low elo. Yeah, I don't know. I was able to get like a 7 game, but it wasn't actually like, you know, like attached to maybe the first like 4 games I won or something like that. But anyway, yeah, as you can see, getting a little cutscene or whatever, blah blah blah, for the Ultra Ball tier. Cool. You know, it is what it is. But anyway, this game right here is from a little bit more of a low rank. I just want to show you guys like the lead and show you how this whole Altaria interaction works when it comes to the standard lead of, let's say, like the Pelipper or Chaladon. So a perfect world would be that Pelipper readies like a Weather Ball, which, like, you know, typically could happen, but like a lot of times they do want to set Tailwind. So either way, the whole point of that is it's kind of like a two-way go of like, well, if they ready a Weather Ball into this Incineroar slot or something like that, that's cool. And then also it gives me the, you know, the leeway to kind of fake out into a different lead if they go with something other than what they go with right here. If it is this standard lead though every time, what I can simply just do is switch Incin into Altaria, and what you're gonna see a lot of times is this our Chaladon ready up an electro shot like we were just talking about, right? And just go ahead and watch what happens, right? Because it works out perfectly to always go this way off rip. So again, Pelipper could ready Weather Balls into even Gengar, for instance, and then what's perfect is if he ever does go Weather Ball into Gengar, it's going to be a 50 power normal move like we just said, which means that Gengar doesn't even get hit, and then they get trolled off the Electro Shot as well. Now, fortunately for them, they at least set Tailwind, which, you know, is a net positive. It would have been awful for it to be a Weather Ball or something like that, you know. And then Electro Shock comes in, and instead of it being a one-turn instant charge in the rain, like our Chaladon is literally just built off of, that is literally his bag, instead, he raises his special attack, but then on the second phase of it, he'll attack with the Electro Shot. So he has no choice but to use Electro Shot now, and it'll be into, you know, whatever slot he chose for it. If you really want to hard read and predict exactly what they're going to be, you know, charging that into, you could, but in most cases, it's just going to be a standard double protect while the perish counter is already dropping down. And then the only thing that I would say Altaria kind of leads to things being a little bit ugly for, and this is back when I was just doing stupid novice stuff, so I'm over here hitting roosts instead of hitting the double protect. Definitely not a great play, to be completely frank with you. But because the problem, like I was saying, is it kind of cuts you off from the ability to do those little fake out flip turn pivots with Blastoise and like fake out parting shot switches. So like this was just dumb out of me to be doing something like freaking hitting roost. Like for all I know, that Electro Shot could have come into Altaria, and that's a +1, you know, right there. So anyway, just me being dumb, but you can see how the leads could have gone. We could have double protected right there. It works out. We're at full HP, but yeah, with the perish counter going down to 2 now, someone's gonna have to stay on the field, and you know, like unfortunately with the Tailwind, doesn't really work out perfectly in that regard. So I kind of choke things a little bit here, and it's why low-key we don't always want the Altaria like switch in and lead going in. I think it works really good into the non-Tailwind though, because then we can comfortably do things like substitute on Gengar instead, for instance. But because I'm a little bit concerned about getting outsped by some of these guys, it's not going to be as clean. But anyway, just wanted to show you that real quick, just to give you an idea for how the lead would work. So yeah, I'll try and have a little bit more footage against the weather teams for you guys moving forward here. A lot of the stuff I just kind of deemed, I don't know, the players seemed like a little bit more too much novices or kind of doing bad moves. And granted, I did a bad move right there with the roost as well, but you get what I'm saying. I don't think that makes for great gameplay, for seeing me do dumb stuff and them do dumb stuff. Like, I've improved a lot since then, and the opponents that I'm playing against have improved a lot since then too. So yeah, I just feel like I'd rather just keep stacking up some gameplays and give you guys a little bit better content when we do actually come across that. But at least wanted to put you guys onto this because I know people are still looking for answers and looking for solutions into stuff like that. So if anybody like wants to plug and play Altaria into their lineup, and again, I really do think what is this called? I think it's the Haban berry or something like that. Let me go ahead and look at this real quick. All right, yeah, it is indeed Haban berry. So this is going to be resisting the, the dragon moves and stuff like that. I think this could be really good and helpful into those Archaludon matchups, as well as I feel like Altaria just ends up kind of dealing with the dragon types a little bit more than anything. Fairy types are pretty rare in this game, and and if there is a fairy type, it's typically not on a rain team, other than Meganium, for instance, could be as well. But it's a little easy to play around that because Meganium just absolutely gets walled by Gengar, and like you can't do anything in that regard, like grass or fairy. And then we have a couple of switch-ins to like the fairy moves neutrally at least, and Altaria can eat like crazy the grass moves. So yeah, between the Mega Soul and stuff like that, I don't think Meganium's really that much threatening. And then Dragonite, once again, we do him the same way with making it so the Thunder and Hurricanes are like inaccurate. Weather Ball ain't doing anything. So yeah, it's not a free win, I will say that. But it makes it very, very playable to where it feels like I have the upper hand even, like going into these games, where I don't think a lot of people can say that about rain teams. The rain is absolutely dominating in this format, and I mean, it's because you have powerful dudes that came from like, I mean, like, in Scarlet and Violet, like regulations, and even like on Showdown, stuff like that. Like Rain was even going crazy with the Archaludon, Basculegion, and Pelipper trio on there. Now you add like Mega Dragonite and Mega Meganium into the mix on stuff like that. Still have Sneasler from the old formats. It's like the same rain teams that you just saw. Meanwhile, things like Trick Room teams like Ursaluna and stuff like that have been removed. I don't know. It's not like, I don't think a lot of other weather teams are really keeping up with the rain either, for that matter, if you ask me. And then rain inherently gets a benefit against opposing weather teams because it's just water type into things like ground and rock and fire, and even ice is, not very effective into water types as well. So rain is just the superior weather, and it's unfortunate that it's like that, but it also means you have to have things to check it, because it's going to be extremely dominant. So anyway, if you want to play into the rain, like I said, I think Wakanberry would be better for something like Blastoise because you could take Electro Shots a whole lot more doably and keep him in the slot potentially instead of something like Altaria if you wanted to, or you could have Prim be the Wakanberry user and Blumberry on Blastoise instead. Also, I was told if you guys use the replica team feature right here and just like punch this in, that you could actually use my team. I didn't put it in the last video, yet I've already recorded it, so I wanted to make sure I did that for this one. This is the code right here if you want to use it. I don't know if there's something I'm supposed to do other than that. I'm a little new to this for sure, but yeah, I mean, if this is all you need and you can just punch that in, and if it makes you spend like some VP or something like that to use it, but you wanted to access the team, I have no idea how it works. I just wanted to at least, provide this to you guys. And if you could drop in the comments as well how it works, I would appreciate that for sure. But anyway, that's going to be all for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on the noties, all that good stuff. If you made it to the end and you want to show your support that you did, put Rain or put Altaria in the comments. Show support me all the way through. So shout out to Altaria. I've been having it on the team since day one, and it was obviously with the intention of teams like this, and it's also still pretty good into Sun too. I will drop videos on that potentially as well. It's just not nearly as good at shutting things down because the rain teams use like their moves and abilities so much more in that regard. Like Chlorophyll Venusaur, yes, is a thing, but I mean, Venusaur is still Venusaur at the end of the day. It's not like it makes his sleep powders 100% accurate or something like that, or like, he doesn't always just run Solar Beam, It'd be different if he had different moves that weren't like as good, or if, stuff like that. So point is, the Sun teams don't rely on their abilities as much. It's more like the damage that gets output by like Heat Wave and stuff like that, and then in Venusaur's case, Chlorophyll a little bit. But the rain teams just hinge on the weather so hard. I'm kind of reiterating myself over and over again. We don't gotta continue with it, but you got what I'm saying. Basket Legion, Archaladon, Pelipper, all three of them, even Dragonite, rely on the rain being up so extremely hard. So, also, before we go, what I do want to say about Cloud9, rather than to be like anti-weather, like how, for instance, I made a video pre-champions talking about Sableye running Prankster Pokemon to like oppose the weather. I think that'd be really good into things like Sun Teams if you were to have Rain Dance on a Prankster, so that you could, for instance, like make Heat Wave and stuff like that super resisted and like do terrible damage. But in Altaria's case, I think it's even better to have the Cloud9 rather than to anti the weather, because again, things like Electro Shot, it's like it's the same. That's the same difference. But if like Weather Ball, for instance, right, on Dragonite or Pelipper, those Weather Balls would still become 100 power fire moves that are like in the sun. You know what I mean? If you had like Sun Up or something like that. So all of these like counter weathers would leave Gengar a little bit vulnerable even still. But because it becomes a normal move, 50 power, I mean, not only does it do terrible damage into anybody, like every single person on the team, right? Doesn't matter if it resisted or not. The point is though, like, you know, that does absolutely nothing into Gengar. So it's like it's almost a guaranteed win if they ever lead Pelipper, Weather Ball into Gengar, and then also like Electro Shot from Archaladon. That is like literally you're going to win the game when you have that lead happen, because then you can just double protect the next turn. Boom, the Perish counter's going down. You figured out from there, but like no matter what, everything has been set up perfectly at that point, and they didn't get Tailwind up either. So now you can just like, you know, you could even do a sub on the next turn or something like that too instead. So anyway, yeah. You get what I'm getting at. There's a lot of ways to go about stuff like this. So anyway, that's all for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. Appreciate you for watching. And yeah, stay tuned for more. I'm going to have a video on Floette pretty soon here and how Perish Trap Loki counters that pretty good too. But anyway, that's all for the vid. Appreciate you for watching. None of that. Titties, man. Peace.